Hello, welcome to the Peaceful Woodturner. This is a piece of hickory that a friend of mine gave me. He got it from where they were cutting a bunch of this stuff down after some storms and everything else, and most of the stuff is going to be firewood. But I told him about my hobby, and he said, hey, I've got a couple pieces you might be interested in. And I told him specifically I wanted the weird stuff. I wanted the stuff that has all the twists and turns and knots. So he brought me this, which looks more like an S than a branch. And as you can see, it's had some different pieces coming off of it in some really funky ways. It's got some branches and stuff on it. So I'm going to cut this down into a few different pieces and see what I can make. I thought about trying to seal the ends and let it cure, but I'm kind of worried that it's going to cure in weird rates and really crack and just have more problems. So I figure if I do a little bit of green turning, I might be able to get some nice stuff out of this that I can let season a little bit more carefully. So I'm going to start by taking these branches and stuff off and trimming this funky thing off and see what's actually deep inside here. See how hollow it is and how chewed up it is by whatever little critters we're getting in there, and see what I can make. So I made a few passes with a variety of tools. My Sawzall battery died, so I had to switch to more hand tools and stuff, and just working my way through. This hollow comes all the way through here, so that's going to be kind of tricky for me. I think what I'm probably going to end up doing is, once my Sawzall is good again, I'll cut this off and make this a little more true. And I should be able to make a couple of interesting pieces out of this, considering what all the grain is doing and everything else. Probably some kind of little platter or candle holder with this. This is the end, close to where this cutoff happened. You can see I've got a little bit of inclusion here, but it doesn't go all the way through. Got a lot of really interesting figure in the grain. Got a couple of knots and stuff. So I'm going to put this on the faceplate and true it up and see if I can make myself a small little bowl, although it might end up being a pillar candle holder. Got it mounted up. You can see I've still got some pieces that I need to be very, very careful of. Again, let me just point out, found wood always has to be very careful. You have to make sure that there's no nails, no other pieces left in here. This wood's had a life that you really just don't know about. You can see these little marks here. Let me just turn that a little bit so you can see a little better. See this line right here? There used to be a staple in there, is my guess. So I need to go through and be very careful about anything like that. Make sure there's not actually any metal left in there or any other problems that could come flying out at me. I am wearing all of my safety protection, including face shield and helmet and respiratory protection and all of those kind of things. Just try to be as careful as possible. So I'm going to start turning this down to round. I'm going to be going at about 680 RPM. new camera angle while I cut in the mortise for my chuck. I'm a little worried that this is going to be a little weak here, so I'm actually going to take this out a little farther just to make sure that I'm safe. That's better, definitely safer, a little deeper than it was and wider. Should get a better grip on my chuck, and I don't have those flaws that I had before. I'm going to sand it again. It's mounted up on the chuck. It's really nicely balanced. Everything feels very good. I'm concerned about this. This is a bark inclusion that goes kind of deep, so I'm going to have to be very careful. I really don't want to have any catches or explosions, although it would be spectacular. But I don't need to take a risk. So I'm going to go slowly and carefully and just kind of smooth this out, and then I'm actually going to do the majority of my boring using a Forstner bit. That way I won't be putting as much pressure on with a tool, I won't be digging in as much, and hopefully won't be taking any kind of serious risk. So we've got to start by just kind of smoothing this out a little bit. So I'm going to use my bowl gouge. I have the least chance of getting any kind of major catches with that, and I'm just going to go real slow and careful. So I've got my smaller Forstner bit mounted up, and I got lucky with this. The depth I need to go is pretty much just the same as the length of the shaft on my bit, so I should be able to open this up a bit nice and smooth and careful. And I'm only going about 580 RPM. Maximum speed on these bits is about 700 RPM. I really don't want to overheat anything. Forstner bits were definitely the right choice for cleaning this out. Once I got to the point that I was starting to get to this occlusion, or this inclusion I should say, I was starting to hang up a little bit even with the Forstner bit, so I had to be real careful, go real slow, and I'm going to have to go nice and easy as I try to just kind of round this off and finish this inside. I really don't want to have this suddenly break out on me. If it all works well, it's going to be a really pretty piece. If it doesn't work well, I'm going to have some more firewood. So I could try to do a little bit more in here, take out these tool marks, but I'm really worried that I'm getting too close to some of these inclusions and I'm going to have a problem. I don't want to lose this piece now that I've gotten this far with it. So I'm not going to take the risk of injury, I'm not going to take the risk of losing the piece, and I'm going to switch to just sanding this now. And I'm going to start off with kind of a heavy grit just because of how much there is still to take off in there, and I'm going to go about 100 grit, and I'm going at about 500 RPM. So I've sanded about 100 grit, taken off a lot here. Feels pretty good. I'm just going to take a little bit more off on the bottom here, and then I'm going to switch to a higher grit. I'm going to go to a 220. So the piece has been well sanded, it's very smooth. I'm going to put a coat of wipe-on poly on, and I'll let the poly dry, and then I'll sand it again, put another coat on, and I'll keep doing that for a while and just build up a few coats. Alright, this is really cool. I like how it looks. It's green wood. It did crack a little bit while it was sitting and drying some more. And I actually had it sitting on the lathe for a bit, and I think that might have contributed to how it's gotten all kind of wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. So I like the look on the top. I like this wavy look, but I don't like it on the base because I have a piece that kind of rocks. So I'm going to sand it a bit on the bottom and apply a little more finish, and then it should be done. I'm just going to use my palm sander, and I've got a 100 grit in here. Excellent. That came down flat a lot faster than I expected. So I'm going to take some of the dust off of that, and then I'm going to put a finish on it.